And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. The Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because it's a very simple, very simple spherical problem. 15 degrees of latitude equals 1 hour of time difference. It's geometry, people. And never will you go ahead and convince me that changing it otherwise helps. Cut it out. Part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I am your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and I like UTC. Thank you very much. There's a reason why those letters stand for universal. Crying out loud. We'll deal with that all in a little bit. Thank you for joining us. Hope that you guys are having yourselves an okay time. Yeah, it's been a week, so we're here. So there's a good starting off point. Joining me this week from the right-hand coast, UnrenownedTech. Good morning.
Good morning. And in reference to that thing, yeah, I could hear it through the channel, but not through my Discord, so I don't know what's filtering it out. And it's not that bad, really. It's not distractively bad, the audio thing.
We'll explain in a moment. From the Midwest of the U.S., Brigid Fitch. You're back. Hi.
Hi. Well, the weather is supposed to get really bonkers tomorrow. The high tomorrow is going to be 21.6 C and supposed to drop down to -3 C with snow.
Lovely.
So how about that?
I'm really excited for Monday because my area isn't known for getting tornadoes, and they're saying, by the way, you might get tornadoes and hail. I'm like, work from home, got it.
And from the left-hand coast, where currently things are not on fire, I'll explain about that in a couple of seconds. Io Cloud, you're able to make it. Hi, hon.
Hi, I've had a very emotional last couple of days. The role playing in Second Life has been intense, and all I was doing is just doing the weeping widow with the coffin.
I get you.
Tomorrow's gonna be worse, and I hope to make through it. And I really would like my Shujin there.
So a couple
do what all
pieces.
the other role players do in Dungeons and Dragons. When we're having a bad day, we just buy new dice.
So to explain about a couple of the pieces, item number one about the fire. Apparently there is a new one out there in the Midwest, I forget exactly where it is, that reminding you that we're still in the first quarter of this year. And it has already burned, I believe it's something on the order of 10% of the entire burn of last year in area that's been burned with zero containment currently. I know. The old adage is any wildfire that has 85% containment has 0% containment. I know. However, when they say zero containment, it's a bad day. So I'm not looking forward to that one. Item number two, as far as to... What, you just looked it up?
Thanks a lot, Shu. Thanks. No wonder I've been having breathing problems.
It's off to the east of you. Quite a bit. So, wait, several states over east. So, there's no reason why winds should be bringing anything your way even close. Not even close. Nebraska, I think, is where it was.
Yeah. That's just it. We've been having a heat wave, and these are either forest fires or whatever. There's a bunch.
Fair. As far as to
Whatever.
the whole making me look like Santa, admittedly, I stopped shaving. Well, normally the way that I do it is I have hair clippers, so I usually have been buzzing my head down to be very, very tight. It was something that I started doing when I was working at the bakery, because if you kept your hair at a certain short length, I think it was like a 1/4 inch, you don't have to wear a hairnet or a beard net if you keep it that short also. So I was basically keeping it like that. And nominally I have a Van Dyke. It's not a goatee. A goatee is a separate mustache and then chin piece, kind of like Tony Stark does. That's I've done that for a little while also. No, this is a Van Dyke. It's all one piece.
You're going to
And I
need it
stopped.
one day.
Well, see, here's the thing. I stopped doing this in, I forget exactly when it was, mid October, early October, whatever the hell it was, so that I'd be able to, have it come in fully by the time Christmas season came around, so I would look kind of fluffy and have the insulation for the cold. And unfortunately, there's been some heavy-duty cold and wind and whatnot, so it's been kind of like, you know what, let's just let it keep rolling for now. Let it keep going. I was going to sharpen up my clippers and bring it down again finally, because I thought, hey, we're good. We're done, right? No, yesterday, technically yesterday, because I haven't been to sleep yet, near the end of my shift, we ended up with a lot of cold and some big fluffy, white things floating down from the sky, and then rain, and then sleet. So we had a whole bunch of frozen BBs all over the driveway where I work, which I was not appreciative of. So
No.
yeah, this is going to stay for just a little bit longer. I know it's
Yeah,
uncomfortable
little
for
white
some people to
BBs
see
are
me
hard
like this,
to-
but I mean, I
Little
know,
white babies
I know,
are
it's
kind of hard to walk on.
yeah, exactly. Now I know,
That's
I know,
why my
it's
yak tracks are still in my car.
perfectly reasonable. So if anybody's
Yak
wondering
traps?
why does he look like that, go ahead, explain.
Keep himself warm.
Jack, what are yak tracks?
Yak tracks are basically a slip-on spike for your shoe, and they come
Oh,
in different
those.
varieties. The the ones for the average person you're going to want look like coiled springs over a rubber grip system, and the reason for that is you're going to do less damage to your garage floor. Mine are much more aggressive, but I take them off in the car so I don't destroy my garage. I
Good
was
call.
also the only person not falling down during the last ice storm in my area.
That helps.
Speaking of white ice thingies coming out of the sky, a
Snow?
couple of days ago when there was that tornado outbreak, I was peeping
Those.
out the hail sizes and stuff because I'm a nerd and that's what I do. There were reports from spotters submitted of 6-inch hail.
Golf balls.
No,
That is freaking huge.
that's oversized
larger than a golf ball.
softball. That's like oversized softball. Holy
I have
nickel.
If you're holding it in your
never-
hand, by the time you get over the surprise of it, it's melted to a golf ball.
I have
Just go outside with a
never
golf cup.
seen reports for 6-inch hail before. 5, yes. 6, no.
This is 4 inches. This is when you talk about measuring a horse hand height. When it says 16 HH, you start from the ground and you measure up this way. This is 4 inches. This from outside of this thumb to outside of this thumb, that's 6 inches. That's, across your forehead. That's dangerous, to put it mildly. You get hit in the head with one of those, that's an easy concussion. Easy, if you're lucky. So, all you weather spotters out there, first off, you're all freaking nuts. But thank you so much for what you do. Stay safe out there. God's these people. Anyway, thank you for being with us. Of course, as always, if you want to join us as we're recording live over here on YouTube, please feel free. To love to have you. You can be over there on the live chat, which includes Stephanie, who, yeah, it's 0400 hours there in the UK because UTC, because over here for some stupid reason they decide, hey, in spring, let's move the clocks ahead. I'm really waiting for that to finally stop. There are some states over here who have finally said, you know what, screw that, we're not going to do that anymore. So...
yeah, but they want to stay on daylight, and it should be standard. And I'm going to die on that hill.
As it should be. It should be on standard time, because here on the East Coast, we are 5 hours behind UTC. Physically, geographically, mercatorially, cartographically, we are 5 hours behind UTC. And you're right, I will die on this hill as well, right there with you.
The sun should be overhead at noon.
How's my
Just
output
saying.
levels?
What was that?
British Columbia sprang forward for the last time ever, supposedly. And they sprang forward. They're not going back.
Well, we should go back to standard. And I'm going to die on that hill.
The look on Shu's face is perfect. What do you expect from a bunch of granola munching, green stuff smoking Canadians that are mostly hippies?
Funny you should say that, because that's now going to change out how the 5-minute freestyle is going to play out just a little bit. This is not a zero. This is just adding color to where I'm going on this.
Uh-oh.
No.
How bad's my audio pickup?
Well, I don't know. You don't sound like a G.
Hear me?
You are a little on the low side. I will work on that in just a couple of seconds.
Okie dokie.
Actually, I will boost everybody else. Well, I will boost everybody, and I will bring everybody else down summarily just to keep everything straight. So let me go ahead and get everything rolling over on my side, because we got a show to do. So let me go ahead and do that. So with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle is going to start right now. Projection this week is what I'm talking about. Now, funny enough, the way that this is playing out, and my microphone's just a little bit on the hot side, the way that this is playing out is that, as I was just talking about, well, what do you expect from a whole bunch of people who granola munching, free energy, pyramid hat wearing types, I'm assuming is where she was going to end up going, depending as to how far down you go this whole thing. What would you expect from people like that? Well, that's where the projection comes in. If you show off how you are, you kind of telegraph to everybody. You project out there to, well, I'm not going to say the universe, but to the people around you, what you stand for. And I know it sounds a little, overly dramatic to put it that way, but it really is truly that. If you take a sample of, how we are, what we talk about, what we do, you can pretty well figure out, we support science. We believe in asking questions, even if uncomfortable. We believe in following the facts where they lead, even if it's uncomfortable. We believe that people are human, no matter what they look like, what they say, how they dress, how they behave, even poorly. We think that everybody deserves the opportunity to live out their life, to prove that they can be people, good people, societal people. It's not always easy. I mean, there are people who it's hard to accept the idea that they deserve a second chance. Problem with that, of course, is that there are people who then think that a third and a fourth and fifth chance is adequate. But don't go looking at the bigger picture, which is not everybody deserves as many chances as they need. Well, I mean, there is an argument for that when there's good faith, but there has to be that as well. And unfortunately, an unfortunate part of that is there has to be punishment. It simply has to be a thing. Now, we want people to be better. We don't want, as an example, incarcerations to necessarily be punitive. They unfortunately have to be to some degree, but it's the question of how much so. And how do you balance that against teaching someone to be better? It's a delicate balance, and it's not something that we on this podcast are in any way, shape, or form qualified to answer. And the vast majority of you all, I would assume, would not be qualified to answer, because it's a very specialized topic. But in order to get people to improve in that kind of situation, they need to want to. Sometimes they need to. And there are those who will just say, you know what? They've spent a couple of days, a couple of nights in prison. They've paid their debt to society. You know what? Let's just not even let them have to spend any more time than they already have so that they can go and improve their lives again. Those are the people that more need to be taught a lesson. Because those are the ones who do not respect. Those are the ones who don't care about things like justice. They are the ones who are projecting the idea of what they stand for, and more assuredly, what they don't. So for all of us grunts out here trying to do our thing, keep doing the good thing. If it's necessary, hold a banner, wear a pin, say a little encouraging word to somebody sometime. But most importantly, being good as an example without saying a word about it, that projects out something special. And I hope that we can all keep that going, even in the darkest of times. So that being the case, we get to moving on, because it'll be time for the horrible scopes, and let's go ahead and do that. So for those of you that know your astrological sign is cool, those of you that don't, you can figure it out any way that you like to. And if you need to go down to a local gaming store and buy yourself a D12 to randomize whichever one you want, cool, because it's not going to make a difference which one you get. None of them have any basis in reality, usually, unless something really, really weird and coincidental happens. Now, we've been doing the scopes. I've been writing these scopes for quite a while now, several years, in fact, in some form or other. And in all that time, I've had a couple of bumps in the road. I missed a week, came up with them late, literally reusing an old set just to get something done for you folks. Literally completing them moments before having to premiere them on a Friday night, as I've been reminded last night. Now, here's something weird, because, every week I publish the written version on Thursday nights for me. Well, this week's that just went out, which was supposed to be last week's scopes, apparently somehow or other, I posted them twice a week apart, even though I had written the right ones and I posted the wrong ones. So I don't know what really happened. I don't know how this happened. This is a first for me. So I'm now actually very concerned about our collective mental health, because now I'm worried about mine. Aries, this whole thing isn't about being worried people are out to get you. By the way, it's about the birds that are out to get you. Yet now that spring is fast approaching, flocks of these little migratory menaces are reappearing. Those birds, the little ones, they aren't the issue. The larger 9 migratory birds, those aren't the issue. And normally, groups of birds, they're called flocks. In this case, we're calling them fleets. So this week, fleets of Canada gooses are returning and reclaiming the land they left behind before the winter. You now have a choice. You can either give up without a fight, which we recommend, or you can expect to be conquered like Vimy Ridge. Remember, the Geneva Conventions were started because of Canadian warfare practices. And Canadian Cobra chickens can't read. Tech, take it away.
Taurus, your mental health took a hit when your normal day-to-day rhythm was screwed with because of the daylight savings time clock change. We know it screws with you. It screws with us too. We're very alike in that we can feel the difference in how long we've been asleep for and what the ambient lighting is like because of it. So this week, there are several places where they believe that time is time. Consider relocating there or get the law changed to stop this stupid, outdated practice. Bridge.
Who's next?
That would be you. Folks, my microphone I'm silencing because I am seeing stuff going on my microphone feed. So I'm going to be silent until it's my turn again so that I can try to work on stuff. I apologize to you guys on Discord because you're still going to hear stuff going on. It's just the way the OBS is. I'll be right back.
Gemini. If Taurus is successful in changing the law to stop changing the clocks twice a year, you're about to have a very lucrative programming career. There's a lot of computerized devices with built-in clock change parameters, and they'll have no way to know that they don't need to do that anymore. So you'll need to learn how to program out all those settings and keep them on standard UTC forever. So this week, go visit a secondhand bookshop and look for old C++ college instruction manuals. Preferably something printed in this century.
Of course, just when I took a bite. Yeah, when we were having the Y2K thing, I knew somebody that knew Cobalt, and he could have written his own paycheck if he had actually sat there and done any work, but he didn't want to do it. Old programming, it's a good thing, right? Right.
Yep.
Cancer Moonchild, there are a handful of times when you'll learn a new fear from otherwise instructional videos. And here's yours. Thanks to a video short on YouTube, you've learned that some people will cook on large stones while camping. Bad idea. Meanwhile, they'll find some flat top rock large enough to cook a meal on it, like it was a griddle, and build a fire immediately under it. Bad idea. So this week, you do not want to partake in this activity. If you superheat a rock with water inside of it, boom, you'll be cooking on a geological hand grenade. Boom. invest in a small cast iron pan. It's so much safer. Boom, boom,
True
boom,
that.
boom.
Leo, people buy safes to store their most important paper documents, but nobody seems to want to build a similar vault for computer data. Yeah, there are off-site locations to back up your most important digital files, but what about a near impervious, always-on backup system for your home? Let's see if you can build a concrete and steel reinforced box allowing capacitive transfer of power and data into a low-power solid-state drive system via home networking. So this week, or, you could just back up your important files onto a zip disk and hope for the best. Or maybe ditto tape drives.
Don't get me started on those tape drives. Virgo, remember that first car you had after you got your license? People thought you were crazy, but they never realized how smart you actually were. You bought a 1975 Dodge Dart Police Special, and it was the best purchase you ever made. That beast still had the door mounted spotlight on it, but the engine was a thing of beauty. Being a fleet car, it was always mechanically fit and tuned up using little more than a couple simple tools and a good ear. So this week, that poor car is a half a century old now. It deserves to go out in a figurative blaze of glory. Have you ever considered the Cannonball Run? Do it, but remember, you might be able to outrun a Crown Vic, but you can't outrun a Motorola.
Libra, you are not seeing things. You really are noticing a specific type of car more often. No, it's not a plot to spy on you or kidnap you. You're just experiencing something called frequency illusion. You just found out about that new color available to that new car model, and now you think they're all swarming around you. But really, there's no more of them around you than in other locations. So this week, answer this question for yourself. What makes you so valuable a target that someone would want to capture you and keep you for themselves? If the answer is nothing, then congratulations, you're average. That's a nice, safe place to be.
Scorpio, there's something we're going to suggest you learn to stop being afraid of. Whoa, cat. Cat, you almost did something bad, but that's okay. It wasn't open. Okay, let's try it again. Scorpio, there's something we're going to suggest you learn to stop being afraid of. Mechanical woman. The reason why you have that fear goes back to watching some weird and creepy scenes in TVs and movies. The fembops from the Bionic Woman and Futurama, and the killer dolls in Barbarella, as well as the Stepford Wives. So this week, you can get over your fear by remembering those characters were all fictitious. Fembops aren't real mechanisms. The killer dolls weren't mechanisms. And Alita was a cyborg, not a mechanism per se. So maybe, she is real? Who knows?
Sagittarius, part of improving your mental health is to get your body in better shape. You need less stress, better nutrition, and proper rest. Stress part is easy. Only work to the best of your ability while considering the roadblocks. After that, consider a revised diet, fewer burgers and more submarine sandwiches. So this week, and by proper rest, we don't mean sleep. Just find a hobby you can entertain yourself with. Just with less cleanup involved. Sure, I have no idea what I'm talking about there.
And you've got a bushcraft hobby waiting to happen. Capricorn, we've got an interesting hobby for you. One that we know you've never heard of, heard about from us, and not considered for yourself either. Knife sharpening. No, that stick you use isn't for sharpening. It's for bringing the edge of the blade into better straightness. No, if you want to truly sharpen the metal, go out and buy a whetstone set, then read the instructions. So this week, if you can't find the instructions, it's likely they're inside the whetstone. Pull off the magnetically attached sides and you'll discover the instructions right there. Oh, and remember, you can sharpen a straight edge razor this way too. It's all about
Aquarius.
the angles.
Out of everyone on this list, you are, without a doubt, the singularly most stable group we could talk about. That's not to say you rolled a nat 20 during this list's creation, because you didn't. There are no die rolls tonight, no acts of random chance, no just throw a dart and see what you hit moments. It's just pure, unadulterated anti-weird. You're in fine shape. So this week, unless, of course, that was a total and blatant lie, maybe you just rolled with advantage and rolled 2 nat 1s. You know what, though? That didn't happen. You're fine, seriously. Perfectly fine. Nothing to make fun of here. We promise. You can trust us, right?
And rounding it up with Pisces. Why do we even try with you, Pisces? I mean, come on. You're this giant walking, talking, breathing study in contradictions. You want it all, but you don't want to inconvenience people. You want to have fun with something you enjoy, but you put it off because you think others won't have fun doing what you enjoy. You want to eat a little bit more, but you don't want people to think you're not eating at home. So this week, obviously, there's one thing to do at this point. You need to move to a new time zone, change your name, change your birthday, change jobs, and learn how to demand fun things from people around you. Start by threatening an anthill with a magnifying glass or molten aluminum. Just think of the statues you could make.
It's a lot of aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
Those are horrible
I've
scopes.
seen some of those statues that come out of Africa with the termite and ant mounds. They're gorgeous.
They're huge.
Kind of
They're
fatal
terrifying.
for the animal, but science.
Sorry, there's nothing kinda about it. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, right now I really don't much care because I'm trying to figure out what the hell happened last week, and it's confusing, to put it mildly.
That's your horrible scopes for today.
If you'd like a better or nastier one for yourself or someone else, you can ask me and bribe me by, being nice to me. Or literally bribe me with fungible assets, because I could always use some more. You can hit me on the Coffee page for that. That's coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. I'll have these posted at the end of the week, hopefully the correct ones this time. Tumblr, Facebook, Coffee, Discord, and BlueSky, because that's the way it was, and that's the way it is. I stole that from somebody, I just don't remember who. Doesn't matter. I know exactly who. It doesn't really much matter. It's episode 566 on the docket, Your Honor. If I could turn back time, holy smokes, man.
Only 100 more episodes to go.
I'm trying to figure out, we've kind of talked about this before, that there are various countries out there where they actually do have what's called a no confidence vote, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a call politically to let whoever it is in administration know, hey, we don't think you're doing the right job. So let's see how everybody else feels about it. And if enough members of whatever voting body say, yeah, I don't like what you're doing, I don't think that you got the balls to do the job, figuratively speaking, then yeah, they can get removed from office without having to worry about things like, I don't know, potential jail time. Over here in the US, we don't have that. There is literally nothing even close to that here. The closest to anything like that can happen is if somebody decided that they wanted to just leave office on their own. for whatever reason. Usually it comes down to something like, I want to spend time with my family, and I've got medical stuff that I want to take care of. Meanwhile, there's all these looming legal problems that are over their head and not civil, typically at that point, because the fear of prosecution can get to anybody. But I figure, what if... ... What if that kind of thing was available here in the United States at this time? What would the landscape look like? Because I don't know that it would necessarily be a good thing. Kind of figure it a little bit and see where it takes us. Now, like I said, Canada has no confidence voting. So I'm assuming that you've got minimally a passing familiarity with the concept itself. See?
Oh, there's been several times where it has come down to a no confidence vote, and the government has barely squeaked by. In fact, one time I think it was only one vote. All they needed was one more vote, and they would have fallen. And one of those times, the Queen's loyal opposition was the Bloc Québécois,
Which is
the National Party of Canada, specifically designed to break Quebec from Canada. So the Queen's loyal opposition was trying to destroy Canada. And if they had made the government fall with the no confidence vote, it would have been really interesting, because at that point in time, they could have possibly been the ruling government if they could have done a coalition with at least one of the other parties. And that time, the Queen's loyal ministers would have been the same party that's trying to break up Canada. But one of the times, yes, it was definitely one vote. It was an independent from, I believe, Surrey, BC. He had cancer. He had to go in order to vote. So they brought him in, and he died about 2-3 weeks later. And it was, if it wasn't cancer, it was something else terminal. And seeing him stand up and vote to keep the government going, that was interesting. Because a vote of no confidence or non-confidence, for any reason, can cause an election. If not, it could cause a flip as to who's actually running the country in Canada.
Stephanie's pointing out, we have this in the UK. If a prime minister gets a no confidence vote, they are replaced by the party they belong to. Which sounds understandable. If you've been elected to whichever position, and the overall body says, yeah, we don't think that you can do the job correctly, we don't think that you're doing a good enough job, cool. Yeah, if that passes, they're out. But the group that they were from decides on who replaces that person, which sounds suspiciously like what happens up there Canada way when actual elections happen, right?
Yep.
So it's a little bit interesting.
Triggering event. If a government loses a vote on a question of confidence, it must resign or trigger a general election.
Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm not saying this to be cheeky about it. Canada's federal election system is, and I'm going to use this word, curious for me. Because, yes, otherwise, one would expect that there should be, and I'm using scare quotes on that one, should be an actual expected cycle of when federal level elections, the big elections should happen every 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5, whatever, but on a typical cycle, Canadian high level elections don't always and seemingly almost to a fault don't necessarily seem to follow that. It seems to be much more things aren't working right. It's election season.
Exactly. And unlike the United States that has set elections, some of the provinces have started to have mandatory elections every 4 to 5 years. BC is one of them. Canada, I think. You're asking me to remember stuff from 6 years ago. But the United States elections is basically two orangutans slinging mud at each other when it comes down to it. The president and whoever's going up against them, or the two main candidates going up against them. I would actually like to see it so that the presidents don't have a running partner. The VP has to run on their own. I would like to see that, because that might actually improve things for the United States. But that's beside the point. Canada's elections and Canadian government is like a circus, complete with clown car, elephants, trapeze artists, and the master of ceremonies praying that nothing goes to pot or goes boom and the tent doesn't fall in.
Well, the bright side of the trapeze artists is they bring us Nightwing, so that's a pretty good thing. That's a deep cut with a bullet right there.
And people think that the actual person that runs Canada is the Prime Minister. No. It's the Governor General. The Governor General might just be a figurehead and stamps everything that the lower governments push through. But the Prime Minister doesn't actually run Canada. They run the Canada government, but everything has to be approved by the Governor General. And if it doesn't get approved by the Governor General, it goes back down to the houses. Oh, and so every single time that Florida man keeps on calling Canada the 51st state and calling our Prime Minister the Governor of Canada, I just want to go and have a little chat with him about how I don't think the Governor General would like that. We're talking about Governor Generals that have done things like Seal Clubbed and Seal Hearts. Okay, we've had some pretty awesome and spectacular Governor Generals over the years. We've also had some very quiet ones. Oh no, we should end the seal hunt. Oh no. The seal hunt is part of Inuit traditions and stuff, and it's one of their meats, and they don't want an overpopulation of seals and whatever. I'm not going to get into the politics of that. It's
that's a whole other thing. Now, just to make sure that we get it cleared and cover that one point before we move along over here, just to be clear, once upon a time ago, it was standard practice here in the U.S. that the office of president was voted upon, and the office of vice president was voted upon as two separate line items, not as a joint group vote. Now, I know that changed. I don't remember when. I don't remember the why. I just remember that it used to be as two separate. So you could actually have one political party housing in one office and a different and opposing in another, which makes for an interesting time, but we'll deal with that in a couple of moments.
And the Prime Minister of Canada is not like the president. It's not voted on like the president. The Prime Minister of Canada has their own riding that they have to campaign in, as well as be the figurehead for the rest of their party throughout the rest of Canada. But if they don't win their own riding, there's a chance that somebody else has to be the Prime Minister of Canada, or one of their other people will step down in their party in order for them to take that riding, if it was a one riding. That's happened. Prime Minister Brian Mulroney lost his riding. People were cheering, and one of the female members of parliament stepped down, even though she had won, just so that he could stay in power.
Brigid, I heard you starting to come in there.
Yeah, I thought the vice president thing was like the second place winner in the election. I thought that's how that worked, but I could be confused. I thought you had like people run for president and the vice president was like the loser of the presidency.
You know what?
Even second place.
You're making me second guess what I think I know. Tech, do you have any help on this one?
No.
You know what?
The only thing
Perfectly
I'm
reasonable.
familiar with in terms of presidents is not this part of this topic yet.
Okay. Oh, well, Stephanie's got a piece over here saying, as I understand it, when the U.S. Constitution was written, the vice president was the other party to the president, which is why Lincoln's assassination caused so much bad stuff for the ex-slaves. You know what? I got to refamiliarize myself because I can't trust what I think I know. And hey, remember what I was talking about before? About, we believe in following the facts. Yeah, I may not necessarily know what the facts are anymore. So if I've screwed up, I apologize. Now, I go off of the best knowledge of what I got. And that's why I like doing this show, because we don't have to be complete idiots about anything. We don't have to be complete pros about anything. We can go ahead and say, and this is kind of the thing, you know what? I think it's supposed to be. I think it was. Oh, you know what? We'll go and we'll look it up afterwards and correct ourselves or confirm that, yeah, we got it right. Sometimes we get it wrong. And you know what? That's okay.
I actually found the Globe and Mail's thing about last year's elections. If you think that your vote never, ever, ever actually counts because, there's 30,000, 30 million, 300 million other voters in the United States. Well, in Canada, one of the ridings, it took one vote. And the Bloc has asked the court to overturn the election outcome in that riding because the Liberals won by one single vote. I know another riding.
But do you guys have an electoral college?
No.
Okay, I just looked this up, and in the 1700s, the candidate running for president who received the second highest number of electoral votes was awarded the vice presidency.
Okay, so
I like that idea. We could have gotten Harris.
Well, if
could
we
have
were
gotten
still
her.
under that system, yeah, it would have got to Harris as VP, but we don't operate that way anymore.
no, we don't. More's the pity.
Instead, we got Florida Man and the kid.
There's a whole bunch of things. Now,
also, unlike American elections with a set date, and it's literally every 2 years you guys have elections. Canada does not necessarily have set dates and can have an election at any time. I believe the minimum amount of days is 38 between when an election is called and when the votes actually counted. Whereas in the United States, primaries,
yeah,
this, that. It's like you're constantly voting.
there is something to be said for that. And Stephanie's pointed out, only the U.S. is crazy enough to have an electoral college. It should be removed. I say this on behalf of the entirety of all of our current and past hosts. And I say this with no disrespect. No shit. Sorry. It's just the first reaction for me is that way. Um, Tech, I know that we've we've seen enough, you and I, through the years that we've known each other, and from the technological side of stuff, and we've seen how different administrations have changed how data has been seen, and how it's been viewed for both good and for ill, for societal reasons and for economic reasons, i.e., things like, we're not going to allow PlayStation processors to be sold to these countries because they're good enough to be able to be used in missile targeting systems if they were to remove the console from the chip and the whole that kind of thing. I want to kind of run it past you from the technological side, considering that so many of these presidents have been of a more venerated age, shall we say, um, which, if any, in recent history, can you think of a tech sector would actually say, yeah, this guy's an absolute idiot. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about? I know it's kind of a weird
Said that.
question on this one.
I think they've said that about a lot of presidents, because a lot of them don't tend to focus on things like technology, other than what their briefs tell them to think. Okay, they tend to focus more on the world politics stage, on the overall politics stage of the country, and so on. They don't tend to follow on, like, I can't remember any president who ever talked about opening a popular mechanics magazine, or, you know, doing anything on the internet other than checking email and reading news articles, um, sure, you had Obama with his BlackBerry and so on. He was probably, out of all the presidents we've had, I would say Obama was probably the most technically apt compared to the rest of them. Um, but that's only at a surface knowledge level. Like, I've never worked side by side with any president, or anybody who has worked directly with a president. So I can't say that for certain. Um, the reason why I give props to Obama is because he seemed to have, well, he's demonstrated a few times that he knew a little bit about technology, at least in it, using it, not in necessarily understanding the nitty gritty the way somebody like you or I would. Okay, I would not expect that of almost any president. What I do demand out of my presidents is that they have people on their staff who do understand, who can write up the bluff, the short brief, um, that brings up all the important details right up front. Okay, um, and they read that, they understand that their people are technically competent, and they trust that report. So, case in point, for example, if I were a president and I was not tech savvy, but I had hired tech savvy people to be on my administrative staff, and they come in and they go, look, this is a problem. The production of this product, while important to this sector, is doing this level of exponential harm. And we see it here, 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 and here. It is undeniable, and we have the supporting evidence to back it up. Okay, if it's this bad, this sounds like it needs to be its own briefing. It sounds like we need to bring in all these people, sit down, have a conversation. Whereas if they go, oh, look, the news is making a big thing out of this, everybody's talking about it, but here's the reality of it. You don't need to go and make a statement on this. Let it play out. Okay, fine. That's what I expect. But when you hire people just because they're in your family or because, they've given the largest amount of bribes or whatever, or they say the nicest things to you or give you things made out of gold or whatever the hell it might be. That is that's wrong. That should be an impeachable offense.
I
Now,
really
I'm
wish we
glad.
could impeach our mayor because he has actually stated point blank that he thinks that he's doing a fine job as mayor because his donators are donating money to him. He's got two main donators and they've been donating $50,000 or more. Both of them are landlords that own a whole lot of land in the city. So, of course, they're going to get anything that they want because they give not only the mayor money, but his two cronies.
Now, back on course on this one. Tech, thank you so much. You opened up exactly the can of worms I was hoping for. Brigid, let's go ahead and take us back to the time, once upon a time ago, when somebody suggested that pumping sunlight into the body could cure it of an infection from a virus.
Along with
And the
bleach.
and the poor schlep who had to stand up there and try, desperately try, not to simply throw himself forward so that he could impact his forehead on a table at supersonic forces.
Are you talking about Dr. Fauci and his covering his face with his hand for a second?
You know, if I thought for even a second that we could bring him on to talk with him about some of this stuff, I absolutely would invite him. However, I'm sure I have no idea what you're talking about in this case. How the hell, at that moment, do you believe, knowing what you know, knowing what we know, do you think an actual no confidence could have happened with the office of President of the United States if someone had said and done exactly the stuff that happened in that moment at that press conference?
Well, I mean, if it was possible, I would hope there would be enough people who would have been able to call for a no confidence and have it pass. But with the sycophants that are in Congress, I'm not so sure it would have passed. It would depend on what party would hold control of the House and the Senate.
Assuming that that's how it would be taken care of. Now, it is
I
entirely
mean, I
plausible.
would, I mean, I would think that someone in the medical profession could, like, at that point, come in with a little white coat with the arms that go behind the back or across the chest, could, like, throw one of those on him and haul him out to get some much needed professional help.
See, if we go the impeachment route, right, the House of Congress has to bring up the charges. Then the Senate sets up the trial. The head of the United States Supreme Court, if I remember correctly, acts as the judge. The House of Congress acts as the prosecution. The Senate acts as the jury, and it takes a two-thirds vote of the Senate, 67 people, to vote to remove the president, and he can't appeal it. It's made so that if they say, yeah, he's guilty, out he goes. On the other hand, there is a removal for inability, but that takes a two-thirds vote of each of the House of Congress to remove the president from powers and duty. Either way, the outcome would still be the same. His couch humper buddy would become the next president.
Yeah. But then
And
he
Now,
would
I
select his own VP and not Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson would not be automatically VP.
I would like to state for the rest of the world, we don't want this to happen.
right.
What, impeachment?
No, the other guy getting in.
Oh, no, we don't.
Now,
But in recent polling, he still polls fairly well, but he polls underneath Don Jr.
Don Jr. can't.
I'm
Don
just
Don
I'm
Don
just
Ju-
quoting the polling. That's all.
One of the
It's supposed
reasons
to be
why
a
it's so hard
presidency,
to
not
remove
kings.
one of the reasons why it's so hard to remove a president in the United States of America was the concept of respecting the voice of the people when they chose the president. Now, is it backfiring in this scenario? Certainly. Um, they probably never foresaw somebody this batshit crazy sitting on the seat of presidency. Because, I mean, if you turn back time, when Nixon, right, was being brought up, he resigned after the House had voted on the articles of impeachment. He didn't wait for it to get to trial. He said, "You know what? Nope, I'm done. I resign."
Well, it's because the senators
Because
came to him and told him, "We will convict your ass."
yeah, and
And he's
if the Democrats have a Senate majority and a House majority, manage to get a House majority and Senate majority, and they actually stand up and have a backbone for bloody sake. Look, speaking about that bitch out of Alaska. Um, yeah, don't that whole thing
amongst a
with it,
couple of
she
others.
pissed me off. Yeah, yeah. But if they actually had a backbone to stand up and go for the impeachment and everything else, um, they could get him out. It would take people paying attention to who they're, uh, if they're voting for somebody on a seat for a Senate or such who is a Democrat but has sided with Republicans, got to get them out. If they're a Republican who has sided with Democrats, you could potentially leave that person in there because they tend to walk both sides and they seem to have reasoning skills, you know, and it's just you have to look at their history, and the history is public record, for God's sake. I know this is for God's sake, but it's something that I see that a lot of people don't realize is that the history of people holding public office is public record of what they've done.
Now, I'm going to make a reference to something at this point that has been bandied about a couple of times before. And it's funny that I'm specifically bringing it up into here. There is a section of our Constitution, specifically Amendment number 25. And this has been floated out there a couple of times with various levels of success. And by success, I mean people actually taking it seriously. The 25th Amendment has to do with things like the eligibility of someone to hold the office of president. But there is one section in there very specifically, Section 4, which, well, it states the following, and I'm quoting. Whenever the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other bodies as Congress may, by law, provide, transmit to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the Vice President shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting President. Now, this
I just got
is
chills going down my back.
this is the closest thing in United States law that qualifies as a vote of no confidence. Now, the portion of the amendment does go on to say that the president could then just turn around and write a letter and basically say, "Hey, no, I'm perfectly fine. Thanks. You can put me back into office now." Unless, again, the cabinet's members, still write down and say, "No, this guy's still a Looney Tune and he needs to go away." So
Yeah, and that period of time that they get to respond to that is also like really brief too. It's only like a couple days. I think like 4 or 5.
yeah. Now here's the problem. This amendment and so much else of the Constitution was written in the voice of, and we've used this term before, statesmen. People who believed that no matter what political affiliations people might have, they would always be working towards the good, the common success of the country. The individual people, of course, may not necessarily be forefront in their mind, but the idea of the country as a success, the rising tide lifts all boats idea, that everyone should be working towards the betterment of the government and thereby the rest of the country. The problem, as we've said before, that is no longer a reality. As much as that hurts for people like me who believe in listening and at least making a valued judgment regardless of where the good comes from. And unfortunately, we've had a number of people who, especially in the Democratic Party, people who have been older, venerated, shall we say, has been bandied about, who have basically tap danced on uncomfortable issues and tried to be statesmen, even if they are women, mummies almost in their age, who have basically said, "Calm down, it's going to be okay, we just need to help weather the storm for everybody." No, and those kid gloves don't work in the current day and age anymore, and that sucks. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out is that the absolute opposite is where we're at. Surrounding the chief, the literal office of president at this point, are simply sycophants, yes men, people who stand to become enriched by their position of authority, by hitching themselves to this turning wheel, and with no regard whatsoever to their duties and responsibilities to the country, they would never, and I say that with all confidence at this point, they would never actually fulfill the duty and responsibility that they have with the offices that they hold. And arguably, that is the worst part about the whole. I don't care, I'm going to use it. That is the problem with the whole fucking thing right now. There are no checks. Who should... You know what? I know who. I was going to ask you guys who you think should be the first one to actually invoke the Section 425th. I'll tell you who, in my opinion, should be the first one to do it. Whoever is the highest ranking military person in that cabinet should be the very first one to go ahead and say, in a situation like this, this is not right. This is what is going on is wrong. I've seen it. They're making things that don't make any kind of strategic sense whatsoever. They are unhinged. They are unworthy. They are not honor bound to the job that they have. And I'm wondering if you guys kind of feel the same way, or if I'm just living in a fantasy land created for me by General Fitzwallace or Admiral Fitzwallace. I forget what it was from the West Wing. That's the kind of personality they should be.
I don't think there's a single person in that cabinet who'd be willing to do it.
No, not currently. But my point being that person should be the first one.
Yeah, that person should be. But the problem with that is there's no one like that in his cabinet. You would have to have decent cabinet members to even go that route, and we don't. They're all loyalists and or scared of him.
I don't think there's so much scared of him, but scared of people who I don't want to say loyal, fanatical of him.
That's fair. I use the term sycophant for a reason. So, yeah, spot on to me.
Well, they are sycophants. I mean, they are afraid of returning their Florsheim shoes because they're too big and they don't want to offend him, so they're wearing them anyway.
Wait. What are we talking about?
One of the people that he gave a present to, the shoes were several sizes too big. It was in a news article a couple days ago. And the guy still wore them.
Actually,
One of his
there's
newer
a picture
appointees.
of several people who were wearing shoes that are too big.
Yeah, post that, please. Because that's going to go up.
I will see if I can find it.
Okay,
I
that's
saw
known
that.
by me.
The shoes look like a 8 or 9-year-old trying to wear daddy's shoes. Brand new shoes, but that's the difference in size of feet. That's how big
And
they
the
were.
weird part of the whole thing is these people have gobs of wealth and connections. And they could have easily just gone to the Florsheim Shoe Company and went, look, can I get this exact pair, same stitching and everything, in my appropriate size, please? And he would have never noticed. He would have never known. He's not observant. He has no situational awareness, which the military understands that's a big thing. But he has none of that stuff. They could get him in different colors and he probably still wouldn't notice. Unless it was a rainbow, in which case then he'd flip his lid. But, none of them are that brave. But they literally could have just gone to the company and look, this is a rush job. We will pay extra. It's an emergency. Get this done. And the company probably would have capitulated and got it done. Instead, they're walking around like
a kid with
Sideshow
daddy
Bob.
shoes on. A kid with daddy shoes on.
Extensions to turn off the kitty cats in this picture. Hold on. I've got a MACA, Make America Kittens Again, and anything to do with Trump, it automatically turns into pictures of kitties.
I like that. That sounds
that
cute.
extension is going to have a long lifespan.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I got it in 2015 and it still works.
Good code is good code no matter how long you keep it.
The fact that it still has to work.
Which reminds me, if anybody wants a copy of Delphi 2 client server, hit me up. I can help you out on that. I've still got a copy. Leave me alone. Shut up.
The question is, do they have anything compatible with it?
I can't find the right Oh, that's on Facebook. I don't do Facebook anymore. I can't find the one. There was one of them all lined up on couches, and it was horrible. But
That's
let me see
It's
what
sort of
that's a
like
new one.
grandma. It's sort of like grandma buying the teenager who just had a growth spurt new underwear, and the kid tries them on, and they're sized for somebody about 100 pounds more than what the kid is.
Yeah, here's a picture of Rubio, Shujin. It's in the host chat.
I saw those shoes and I just shook my head and I took pity on the poor guy. Yeah, that's the image I saw. That's the image I saw. That looks like a teenager, a kid, maybe preteen, about 12 to 13, 14, wearing daddy shoes and they're still too big.
Okay. Give me a couple of seconds here. I'm going to.
And once again, he fed his guests rotten Ronnies.
I'm sorry. What now?
Rotten Ronnies? You know, the so-called burger place that the CEO decided to do a TikTok to show exactly how good his product was. So Burger King and Wendy's and Arby's and a couple other places did responses. And Burger King said, yeah, the only thing it was missing was a napkin.
Yeah, the whole burger mongering thing, that be like a whole episode, and everybody's kind of covered it, including um, a lady who's known for being very good at doing body language analysis, who pointed out his revulsion and everything else and so on. Yeah, that would be another show for just the whole McDonald's thing, and it wouldn't even work here.
Okay. I've got
But
the. I've got the. Just really quickly, I got the picture. I'm going to put it up for everybody to see. It's going to be covering us all up. So don't worry, you won't be looking at Rubio's face on this one. So the picture in question, 3, 2, 1. Look at that. I know normally I would just go ahead and say, folks, you can just take a look at the pictures in the show notes and whatnot. No, not this time. That's
that's just it. Florida man thinks that feeding his guests rotten Ronnies is a good thing. Ugh.
I've never known about that. I feel bad knowing that even exists.
That it's called rotten Ronnies?
No, that this shoe thing.
Yeah, he's moved past the whole McDonald's thing. Yeah, we covered the whole McDonald's thing when they had when he invited some sports team over and he served them cold McDonald's food. Yeah, so I mean,
every single time.
Yeah, well, he's done it again, and this was the Olympic team.
Yep.
That's why I was so proud when he finally got around to inviting the women's team, and the women's team said, "No, we're busy. We have to wash our hair."
Go girls, go women, go women, go women, go women. Unlike the men's team, the women actually work harder. They have less funds to do what they do, and they kick ass. It doesn't matter if it's Canadian, American, or any of the other countries. The women's hockey team works harder than the men's hockey team, because the men's hockey team in North America, Canada, and the US, it's mostly just the pro guys taking a couple weeks off.
Oh, and I do want to point out for the male viewers who might be, as a guy speaking to fellow guys who may not be aware of this, because I was only made aware of it because I remember my mother telling me about it. That if you are talking to a young lady or older lady or whatever, but a lady, and you make some kind of offer, date, take to a park, whatever, and the lady in question says, "I'm sorry, I'd be washing my hair that day. That is a very polite, very nice, very classy way to say, not a chance in hell.
Brigid, you're gonna.
I was going to say that the women's hockey team is going to hang out with Flava Flav. He's throwing them a party.
Go, ladies. Go, ladies. Go.
Hasn't he been a
A
little?
party with Flavor Flav would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think I'm vaguely remembering something about a little dubious stuff, maybe.
It's probably still better than
You
cold
would
hamburger.
probably result in jail. Sorry, go ahead.
Probably better than cheap cold hamburgers.
Or fish
The
burgers.
party would be great, but it would probably result in some jail time by the end of it for some people.
Plausible. So, people who are in his cabinet have to know what kind of personality he is. Oh, I've a question.
Uh-oh.
You'll know how every once in a while I will have something that'll just like pang around in my head and just come knocking on my door and just like, hey, have you ever thought about this? And just out of left field. When was the last time we had any kind of visible anything going on with his immediate family in vision? Like his spouse? I don't want to say, I don't want to use the W word because that implies that there is marriage. He has a spouse. I know it's a distinction without a difference, but I'm assuming y'all understand what I'm trying to get at here.
What, the high dollar escort? That usually that sleeps in separate wings or separate locations.
No idea what
That
you're
one?
talking about. Kind of, yeah, a
Okay.
little bit.
I
Admittedly, I've been
never
kind
laughed.
of away from the majority of the news. I'm seriously, I don't remember having even bad press. I have not even seen, things like all of the Christmas trees are now red in this stark white environment. I'm wearing a jacket that has a disparaging quotation on the back of it. That kind of thing.
She's been rather subdued lately and wearing more neutral colors.
She's basically disappeared from the public eye, probably because the more she disappears, the less the public has to say about her. Especially since her so-called biopic tanked. You'd have to pay me to watch that.
Oh, and if I remember the story correctly, they did for people.
Mm-hmm.
It would not have been enough.
I think more people went to go see Markiplier's movie than that biopic, so I'm kind of happy that way. I know. It's unseemly for me to be, happy about somebody else's misfortune.
We're not happy about that sort of misfortune. We're positively gleeful because
Giddy, some might say.
yes, because
with a bass guitar.
That entire
Yeah, that's a thing. Brigid, I'm surprised that you didn't even chuckle. Not even giddy, like with a bass.
You mean like Getty?
If I have to lead you by the nose ring to the joke, it's not funny.
Oh.
All right, so it
you're the
wasn't
one that was
joke.
making the joke.
All right.
And
You're the one that
You know what?
Russia's going back on tour without Neil.
Um,
And tickets are already sold out. I tried to get one.
I'm gonna have to find that
They've got,
extension.
I can't remember her name, Anika something or the other. But anyway, yeah.
maybe they go out
Um,
with Yo-Yo Ma and see how that works out.
I can't
That would
remember
be
her
really
name, but
special, though.
I hear she's really good. And they've rehearsed 40 songs, and so yeah, they're gonna be changing set lists, which is kind of cool.
They
Maybe they
have
get
it for
the.
Firefox. Yes, I can now make American kittens again. Yes,
You
thank you,
found
Brigid.
them? Yay!
Squeak.
And the kittens are
Um,
so cute. I've
well,
got several different ones.
well, I've been spending more time outside my house lately because I've had a little bit more confidence, but I still haven't been out as much as I would like to or would have been if my husband was still alive. Yes, I have a roommate. Yes, she's making sure that I eat by she goes to eat, which reminds me I need to eat type of thing. Um, but I'm still very much tearful and scared about going out because there's been more than once where helicopters have done the circles and reports have come in that they've been active. And I am now a fully registered pew pew owner. I'm not really
Okay.
happy about this, but I never thought it would happen because I'm very much against pew pews. You could do the Hawkeye quote about carry on, carry forward, and all that, but because of what's been going on, in our diggings we found an EDC kit, an emergency kit, and there was one more pew pew. He was right. There was only 3 in the house. That one was in the garage. You know,
Okay. Folks, give me a couple seconds. Okay? Just give me a couple of seconds. We'll be right back. Okay. Sorry about the delay there, folks. There was a piece that had to be done, and it's not something that you guys had to do anything with. So, back on track. Um, the problem, and this is where we're going to end up finishing out tonight. The problem is if the United States were to suddenly have a no confidence thing, we'd be in my opinion, no different off than where we are now. A giant goddamn stalemate. We have a system in place for having the president, whoever it is at that time, to be brought up on charges of high crimes and misdemeanors. Whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. And I'm saying that because the way that it's written, it's not really clear as to what qualifies as high crimes and misdemeanors. And even with that level of apparent and obvious, and you cannot dispute the facts, because the ruling bodies are worked out to be the way that they are through various, I'll just go ahead and say it, gerrymandered systems, they won't vote against. And they haven't. They didn't. Twice. When they absolutely should have. And said that they should have. Even in the time. So, even if no confidence was something that was suddenly able to be put into place, I'll put it to you guys, as the kids say these days, where's the lie? Would it be any different?
No. And this would be an argument for having more of a parliamentarian system. That seems to work better.
It doesn't work better, it works differently.
Well, let's assume for a second that I am not versed enough in parliamentary systems and structures and such. How would that work differently? I mean, procedurally, I don't know. I will admit I do not know what the difference would be. Okay, I'm kind of out to dry on this one now.
I don't think we would have much different, because of the simple reason being, not only did we vote, we being the collective people of the United States, vote Trump in office once, we did it a second time after having something more uh, better in most ways. And what we've demonstrated is that the country gets upset if a person of color is in office. The country gets upset if a woman is in a position of authority. Um, so basically, what would happen is we would just find people constantly trying to abuse the system to get out whoever it is. You know, oh, a woman made office. Quick, let's do a vote of no confidence. You know, it's a somebody who's Hispanic. Let's have a vote of no confidence, or whatever. You know, we have too much hate, too much bigotry, too much sexism going on in this country, and a lot of the churches really don't help that. Um, to have this kind of power. Um, I think we could start going down the right path by actually getting rid of the Electoral College, which we've done the whole no shit Sherlock thing on, as a starting point, and then move forward from there and start setting term limits on positions that don't have term limits, or start reducing existing term limits on certain positions, and putting better checks and balances in place that can't be overridden by one guy in this position of authority.
By the way, before we blow past it, and I completely forget about it, I remember that there was an interview Bernie Sanders had been on, and they had asked him the idea of putting term limits on senators and congresspeople, and he said they're called elections. All well and good, Mr. Sanders, and I adore you, sir. Then why do we have the amendment that says that the president can only serve 2 terms? If it's okay for the president, it should be okay for everybody else. And if it's not, then it shouldn't be. Which is it? Personally, I'm all good for term limits, and I'm also good for there being an age bracket, a top end. And if we're going to go ahead and do that, I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. I'm of the opinion that the median age plus 10% should be the cap. That's me. There's no lower end, but there should be an upper end. People who are in their 90s being judges and legislators. No, I'm sorry, man. That's just no. Stephanie's also
If you're supposed to retire by the time you're 65 to 70, I don't know what the exact retirement age is anymore, and it seems to be creeping up. So let's say 70, then you should not be in political power after you turn 70. If everybody else is supposed to quit their jobs and go stay at home, then so should they.
Yeah, and Stephanie's also put it over here. Put an age limit on important posts. For example, the president should be under 60, not senile.
And also
I'm okay
everybody that's in both of those houses that you have down in Washington, D.C. should be paid minimum wage for their state and should have the same medical benefits that somebody on that minimum wage has.
More importantly, anything that they have investments in need to be put into escrow and not accumulate interest or any kind of add-ons to it. It should be just halted, not go anywhere. A complete freeze of assets.
I think part of it's supposed
It's
to be
like,
that
I don't
way,
mind.
too.
I really don't mind if we pay for their room and board through our taxes, but they should have all their personal assets frozen. They should not be allowed to do any kind of investment while they're in office. They should not be allowed to give either families should not be allowed to invest in anything that's in they're involved with. I think that's actually already a law. I'm not sure. But there should be a lot of things put into place that prevents them from gaining money while in office short of the country's federal minimum wage.
And it shouldn't just be at the federal level. That should actually be at the mayoral level, the city council level. City council here, the mayor has some significant donations. I could probably track it down to show you guys, and I don't want it put in the show notes, but at least 50,000 from one of his donors, if not over 100. He should not be getting that.
I understand that when we have our political leaders meeting with international leaders throughout the world, that they should be wearing a good suit or a good dress or a good whatever, that they should have appropriate protections, Secret Service, police, and so on, that they should arrive in a secure vehicle because they are our representatives. I'm not saying that we have to turn them into bums. Okay? I am saying that we should not allow them to fleece the country anymore.
I'll go with that. And for anybody that says...
And that's the note I'm going to end on.
That's fair. What I was going to say is that I know full well that Brigid's going to back me up on this one. It's possible to do. Look at what happens when you join the military. You're given barracks. You're given a uniform. You are fed. You have assigned duties. You are given all of what you need for the time that you're there. admittedly, you also have to, preferably keep yourself from, I don't know, getting injured, but it's possible to have the job, have clothing, have a roof over your head, and have what a a minimum of actual spending money of your own outside of whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you do in food. I mean, you get 3 meals a day. But you do have to have some money because as far as doing your laundry and things like that, you have to buy your own detergent. You have to buy your own toiletries, things like that.
So yeah, you do get a stipend of sorts.
I mean, the first trip that I had to make to the BX in basic training, I ended up having to spend $200. There were certain things that I had to buy. And the pay wasn't that great, so that was like 3/4 of my pay right there,
Oof.
but the underwear that I had was not in regs, and so I had to buy new underwear, had to buy hosiery, stuff like that.
But for the most part, it's a doable mode.
Yeah, unless you have, credit cards and things like that, which at the time I did not, and I didn't have a card payment and things like that. I know that some people who were married that were in basic training with me who had bills like that, it was really, really tight because they
Yeah.
didn't have, enough pay coming in to cover those expenses.
I actually had a discussion with my father about what military was like late 60s and through the 70s. And he told me that one of the camps that he was at on US soil, they would go out hunting in order to provide for the men because there wasn't enough income coming in. And he treated it like, see how poor I was? And I looked at him like, um, I never got to do anything like that. The first time I've ever had wild game meat was at your house, and it was a luxury. But they had this has been going on since at least the 70s, if not longer. The armed forces personnel basically starve while the people that command them have Pizzagate.
No, we ate when I was in. Like I said, we had 3 meals a day, and we could get anything that we wanted that they were serving. Um, it's just sometimes we didn't have time to eat it because they would only give us 5 minutes, which is not a lot of time. But there was one time when we went to the chow hall and, signed in, that Sergeant Harwell came up and he said, "Well, guess what we're having tonight? We're having surf and turf." And we all laughed because we thought he was joking. And got in there, and sure enough, they had steak and lobster. I was shocked. It wasn't the best lobster I've ever had, but just the fact that there was steak and lobster. Now that only happened once when I was there at Lackland, but still. And then it
But
happened
it,
again a couple of times when I was at Shepherd.
but you remember it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But the food actually was pretty good. My husband said that their chow hall was nasty, but he was Army. I was Air Force, and yes, we did have better food.
Considering
So
that my father-in-law was in the army. I've stated this before, so there's nothing wrong with that. He was U.S. Army Japanese occupation, and he was cook. Um, I can neither confirm nor deny how good or bad the army meals were back in the day compared to current or subsequent. So
Mhm.
I'll just go ahead and say it might be a little bit of a problem there.
just remember MREs are 3 lives for the price of 1.
Those are nasty. Whenever we had to go out and play in the woods, yeah, we had to eat those. And the only quote unquote hot meal of the day that we had was breakfast, and it wasn't hot because it was very cold boiled eggs. But it did have coffee, so that made it hot.
Okay. I'm running into a little bit of a technological issue, so I'm going to go ahead and say my headset is just about dead, and I don't want to have that happening over here. Really quickly, Lex had said, I'd say strict limits on campaign funds as well, getting rid of the super PAC workaround, hard limits on gifts with real legal teeth in all of it. That legal teeth thing is the important part, yeah. Brigid, do you have anything really quickly to finish off with?
No.
Io?
I want to go home. I want to be back in Canada. With the stuff that's been said over the last week about what's going to be happening to California, I want out.
1 second.
I want out. I want out. I want out.
My headset has gone. Okay. That being the case then, brilliant. I'm not going to need these at this point then. I will go ahead and just close this over here. Flying blind, and I apologize, guys. I've at least got a volume meter, so I'll be able to see when somebody's saying something. I will close with this very quickly. We personally, collectively, all of us, and I don't mean just here on the show, but societally, globally, we know what's been happening. We know why we don't trust the people who are in power. And the best that we can do as our own individuals is to keep the lights on, so to speak. Be a light for others to hold on to. It's not always going to be easy, but like I said at the start of the show, sometimes just living and being out there for everybody is enough for others to be able to do their thing. So good luck to us all. We'll call it there, and thank you all for being with us. We hope that you had yourself a decent enough time with us and you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives. Over there on the chat, Stephanie, Lexa, guys, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of an interesting going on out. Quickly then, for each of you, Io, thank you very much. You take care of yourself tonight, and I trust that you've already read the host chat. Well, I'm watching for you to be able to speak, and your volume is nowhere near where it would be if you were saying anything. So thanks for being with.
It's also, she's listed as muted.
All right. Brigid, thank you. If you've got somebody that you want to go ahead and F you to, here's your big opportunity.
I'm giving a fuck you to Michael Cohen for agreeing to do a podcast with Laura Loomer. Really?
You know, funny enough, you saying fuck you and me watching the volume meter, I could see exactly where it happened. That was a great moment right there. And Tech, thank you very much. You take care of yourself, and just thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem. You have a good night.
All right. Everybody else, thank you for being with us. Of course, with all hopes, we'll have everything back again for you guys next week. We'll be over here over on YouTube as usual. Please, of course, note, because of the whole daylight savings time versus standard time thing, we are now at 0405 UTC. I hate it as much as everybody else, so we'll work with it as best we can. If you'd like to be in touch with us, of course, probably your best bet is over on Discord or on BlueSky. We're over there. If you need somebody to, help you out, give us a holler. We'll see what we can do for you. Yes, Facebook is still there, but that's legacy. What are you going to do? Other than that, I'll have the show notes updated as quickly as I can. Said it before, I'm going to say it again. We'll get through this. Like the captain says, we'll do this together. So until the next time we're together, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well, my lady. It is coming up on too damn many years later, but I am still in love. Well, Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.